Hollywood-style makeup like Eddie Murphy does when he's playing alternative roles, he looked like a brother for all intent and purposes.
Well, Dr. Yaffa, I want to open up the lines that people want to ask you some questions here.
Uh-huh.
I have a caller from area code 202. Do you have a question or comment? Area code 202? Okay, let's try area code 313-259. Do you have a question or comment?
Yes. How you doing, Yaffa?
I'm marvelous, C-Star. How are you doing today, sweetie?
I'm fine, thank you. How you doing, Beverly?
Good.
And to everybody else. What I wanted to comment on was when you spoke about the young boys. I remember the Atlanta murders, and Dick Gregory was saying that when the parents finally saw these young boys, that their bodies was drawn up just like a dried up apple. And so some chemicals had been taken from these young boys. And the mother had at least 2 or 3 months before they could even see their children. The other thing, when you spoke about the Katrina and the killing of our people, recently I heard that the Justice Department arrested 6 or 7 National Guardsmen that was in Katrina that had killed black men and black people and had covered it up.
It was more than 6 or 7. I'm familiar with those 6, too.
Oh, okay. I heard that. And I thought that was quite interesting in reference to this so-called, the oil spill down in Louisiana. And all these caucasoids are losing their minds, and now they need psychiatrists because they do not have a job. And I'm saying, but I just, it was interesting relating it to when you say how they were killing up black people. And I'd heard this before. I think Bobby Hemmett, on a CD, he talked about, and there was a project in Atlanta, and how so many black people were missing that lived in his projects. And like you were saying, they had no contact with anybody. And once they were taken a ship to a different place, nobody knew. And there was also an incident here some years back where the young boys that was in these correction facilities were being shipped out of the state of Michigan, and their parents could not even find out where they were when they went to check on them. So this is very real what you're saying about all of this here insanity that's going on. The other thing is interesting, when the so-called Queen of England, for the first time this year in 33 years, she went to Wimbledon, the tennis tournament. And it was quite interesting that she came to the United Nations, I think, last week, and she had not been there in 53 years. So when you say the Pope is coming, I feel there's something coming up here that is going to be quite phenomenal about black people. Now
that's why my people better wake up. So go ahead.
That's my feeling. It's something that's going to be a rude awakening. That's what I think. Nice talking to you.
Talking to you again, too, C-Star. You be safe and secure out there, and stay aware, stay awake.
Area code 779. Area code 779. Area code 216. Area code 216. Do you have a question or comment? Okay, Dr. Yaffa Bey.
Okay, now let me tell you about this new thing that I was telling you guys about earlier, this Melanin thing. This is supposed to be going to be the big kahuna if they're able to get it approved. They expect it to be a billion-dollar industry that's going to put the tanning bed industry out of business. Now, Melanin is such that, as I was saying earlier, you have to get an injection of this so-called synthetic melanin into your abdominal region. Now, you shoot this liquid sun, or whatever they want to call it, into your abdomen every day for 10 days. Now, in 10 days, if you are the color that you want to be, then you only have to shoot yourself up once a week after that. If, however, in 10 days, you are not as dark as you want to be, you continue to shoot yourself up every day until you're the color you want to be. Now, this stuff is supposed to make you darker and darker and darker, and it makes you dark all over without the panty lines and the bra lines that you get from these other types of tan. And certain areas of your body get darker than others. Now, even though they didn't say what areas those were, I'm not stupid. I'm like, okay, so now you're telling us that your genitals are getting darker, because that's kind of standard with melanin. Now, according to them, the only side effects of melanotan 2, which is different from melanotan 1, the only side effects of melanotan 2 are a decrease in appetite, which means you're going to lose weight, and an increase in sex drive. Those are the only two side effects that they're claiming that this stuff has. Now, in the UK, as I said, you can buy this stuff on the internet, you can buy it online, and you can shoot yourself up with it. However, in the United States, the FDA is saying if, in fact, it is approved, it is going to be something that you're going to have to go and have administered by a physician. So if you're going to be having millions or billions of people around the world shooting themselves up with synthetic melanin on a daily basis, some of them on a weekly basis, where are you going to acquire enough melanin to keep that kind of industry going? I don't know how many people have seen, what's the name of this movie? Dang it, it had Keanu Reeves in it, and, oh, Lord, Morpheus was in this movie. What was the name of this movie?
Matrix?
Yeah, The Matrix. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know how many people have seen The Matrix and how they had people suspended in animation in these suspended water tubs, where they had people in so they could bleed these people dry and utilize these people in a suspended animation state. But I'll submit to you, if my people don't wake up, and I mean real fast, and quit, oh, we're all the same, we're all the same. We're not all the same. There are melanin-rich people that you think are your people. They're not your people. There are pale-skinned people that you think are the enemy that are not the enemy. And it's going to be hard to try and delineate who's who. And I'm going to say, when it comes to melanin-deficient, pale-skinned people that are not the enemy, they almost need to walk around with a sign going, not me, not me, I'm not one of them, because we have enough to deal with just trying to figure out who that looks like us can't be trusted. We're not trying to figure out who that looks like you can be trusted. So they need to jump up and down and make themselves real known. You know what I'm saying? Even then, our people have been prone to not trust pale-skinned people. But I'm saying that to say, if we're not aware of what's going on, when they say gangbangers are terrorists, Moorish Americans, which means any dark-skinned person or any dark-skinned American, is a terrorist. And once you're a terrorist, we can lock you up and not tell you why, not charge you with anything, not notify your parents or your relatives or your spouse or your children that you're locked up or why you've been locked up. You cannot make a phone call. You cannot confer with an attorney. You will not get a speedy trial. You may not get any trial. And if you know how many experiments have been done on veterans of the so-called military as well as inmates of these so-called prisons, some that are melanin-rich and some that are not melanin-rich, but especially those that are melanin-rich, I see them setting us up for the absconding and disappearance of my people who they can put in a suspended animation and bleed them year after year after year after year, and they're just missing in action. And you have these posters out talking about, have you seen me? And they're just missing in action while they are being bled for what these people need from them because they were too stupid to get their own melanin the official way by grafting back into the family of man because they wanted to stay mankind. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because these people, it is not beyond them to do that. I'm telling you what they're doing to your relatives in these funeral homes, and you don't know about it. When you're standing there looking at these people, why are their eyelids sewn shut? Now, they'll give you a whole half a dozen reasons why they're sewn up here and things are missing there. They'll give you a bunch of reasons why they need to do coroner reports and autopsies. You have a young man that was shot down dead in the street, and they want to do an autopsy to determine the cause of death. Well, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that it's painfully evident that the cause of death is that he was shot down in the street and bled to death or whatever the case may be. But for whatever reason, you tell the family you need the coroner's report, and, we'll let you know after we do the autopsy. What you mean is you'll let us know after you steal everything that you want to steal from this body that you're going to hold on to while it is pending coroner investigation. And really, it's all about you stealing the person blind of that which you need, which you didn't have to steal ours. You could have became melanin rich yourself. How many 100 years did they have to get grafted back in? But they chose not to become a real boy. They wanted to stay Pinocchio, a little wooden-nosed liar. You know what I'm trying to say? So if we are not aware of what's going on, our people are going to find themselves in some suspended, and there's another movie that came out recently. I think it's called Daybreakers.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen this movie. There's a movie called Daybreakers, and it's about these soap, and this movie is dropping it for people that know how to see and hear what they're watching. It's about so-called vampires who are feeding off of human beings who they have suspended in these water suspension tanks like I'm talking about, feeding off of their essence and drinking off of their blood because they are dying off. And as a result of them dying off, in order for them to stay alive and to stay halfway sane, they have to kill off human beings and drink their blood. But when they start having blood shortages, and I'm going to call them melanin shortages, when they start having these shortages, they start to lose their sanity. And they start to feed on themselves, meaning drinking their own blood. And that poisons them. And then they become a real crazy critter. Now, these entities start feeding off of the vampires that are feeding off of the humans. So the humans are at the bottom of the list, or the bottom of the feeding chain. The vampires who were at the top of the feeding chain find themselves becoming at the bottom because humans are disappearing because they're using up the blood supply, and these other vampires are feeding off of the vampires now. And there's a phrase in this movie where this one guy that used to be a vampire, and he stopped being a vampire. How? He was thrown through the fire, okay? He had to go through the fire and get burned, going back to getting melanin rich. Drop into the water of the melanin matrix and come out of darkness and re-emerge from a dark, open cavity that may as well have been a melanin-rich womb, and then emerge out into the sunlight, again a daywalker. I've told people before about these daywalkers versus these non-daywalkers. Now, he can walk, and he has turned back human. And he has found the cure for vampires to not have to be vampires. And they get a hold of a vampire that doesn't like being a vampire. Actually, several vampires don't want to be vampires, that want to try to save the so-called human race and help them become man again. So they come up with a cure, but these so-called elites don't want a cure. All they want is to stay in power and in control, because like they said, it ain't about a cure. It's never been about a cure. It's always been about control and repeat business. It's all about business. And that's why I'm saying these people don't care about melanin-rich people, and they don't care about so-called white people either. If